Happy Halloween, everyone. Today I will be using 1904 from Declaration Grooming, and I will be talking about the Devil's Footprints, one of England's most enduring mysteries. Stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. How's it going? John Bonham here, Cape Cod Wet Shaving. Another day, another shave. Good to see you. Thank you for watching. Before I get started at all, I would like to give a shout out to the person who is responsible for today's set. I'm going to be using 1904 from Declaration Grooming. So for people who are returning viewers who watch my history shaves, I did do a 1904 St. Louis Olympics fiasco shave video. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. I didn't know about it. That one surprisingly struck a chord with a few people, and a little miniature conversation about it started between me and some friends of mine. So for starters, my buddy Chad from Talbot Shaving, how you doing, Chad, had explained to me that a man named what's his name, Sean Maher, I believe, at Maher Olfactive, made sorry, Chad, you told me this already. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Chatillon Lux. Chatillon Lux, I think. French. He came out with a line of perfumes and colognes, and one of them was 1904. And Sean is in fact a St. Louis a St. Louis native and a big history buff. So he made that based on the 1904 Olympics. So right after that happened, I talked to my buddy Jacob. How you doing, Jacob? Fellow Texan, fellow wet shaver, at Jacob Heron on Instagram. Go check him out. Give him a follow. He asked me if I'd ever tried this soap. I said no. And like any wet shaver does, he asked for my address. Before I knew it, this was in my mailbox. Opened it up out of the jar. Liked it immediately, I think. Yeah, I'd say immediately. He had said it's different. It is very different. I like it a lot. So out of the jar, when I first sniffed it, the description I gave it is, it reminded me a bit of cream soda with wood. And I know that's very amateurish, but people seem to like the amateur outlook I give scents. So I went and looked up the scent profiles, and in fact, there is sandalwood in it. And that's the only thing I got right. So the scent notes are coffee, cardamom, jasmine, lime, and sandalwood. So when you lather with this, the coffee and lime come out, in my opinion. I really like it a lot. It's very good. So I will be using that. Pre-shave I'm using Vanderhagen shave oil. I always get messages when I'm trying to do this. Aftershave will be the matching splash. And believe it or not, the balm I'll be using will be a hazelnut from Barrister and Man. This went really well, I think, because of the coffee and sandalwood notes. But I think it goes well with it. So I will be using that. And I close them out of fear that it'll dry up, but not so much. Oh, I'll be using my Fatip Piccolo limited edition, and I have a Vanderhagen blade in there. I was happy to see someone else gave a shout out to the Vanderhagen blades and liked them. I like them a lot. They're pretty mild, but they're hard to, you go to Walmart, you can pick them up. You can get a bunch of them. I think it's for like $4 for 10, something like that. Or $3, $2, 50 cents for 5. I don't know. But yeah, so, coffee of the day. Sterling, Tanzania. I just mentioned that one in my last video. That's one of my favorites, which it is. So, oh man, I was all over the road trying to get this ready. I just remembered I forgot my bowl. Let me go grab that. I'll be right back. Alrighty. So I technically don't need it for the shave itself, but I like it because it cuts down on the water noise for you, the viewer. So that's why I try to have it. Speaking of which, sorry. Went running out of the room. The air hit me in the face. Tried out the oil. Alright. So today's shave, I just find it interesting in life when things circle around like that. You know, I found an interesting thing, talked about it, and then now I'm using the soap. And this was a collaboration between, I forget the guy's name, Declaration Grooming. Not Rod, that's Sterling. But Sean, it's a collaboration between the two of them. Sniff it one more time. Thanks again, Jared, man. It's a great gift. Nice surprise. Today I will be talking about, and oddly enough, when I said things circle around, it circled around here as well. But I'll tell you why at the end. Today I'll be talking about the devil's footprints. Now the devil's footprints, this might be something people have heard of. I had heard about it before, but I'd completely forgotten about it. And I was trying to, this being Halloween, I decided I wanted to try to do something creepy. I went looking for ghost stories and things of that nature. And I stumbled across devil's footprints. I linked to a link to a link to a link. You know how that works. And then lo and behold, I was like, holy crap, I forgot about this. So the only thing that was difficult was to find a lot of photos. I like throwing photos in these videos. There weren't a lot of photos. There's not a lot of direct evidence. There's only written accounts. The only photos that are legit from that day, this was in 1855 in Devon, in England. The only photos were some drawings done by people, and it was printed in the newspaper at the time. So, but aside from that, I got a couple of interesting photos I found. I'm trying to get some lather going so I can show you guys. I've never really used Declaration Grooming. Some good lather though. Smells really good. So once you lather with it, it says coffee. It's different because I don't really get a huge amount of coffee. Like Affogato from Hoffman's. How you doing, Rod? Is definitely coffee. Freaking, what's the coffee one from Shave Mercantile? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I'm very sorry, Ethan. Shave Mercantile is a really good coffee one. Not cappuccino, but I'm close. That one's definitely coffee. This one, I don't get a lot of the coffee out of it. I get like a cream soda, like I said. But, alright, enough talking about that anyways. So, Devil's Footprints was a phenomenon that occurred on the evening of February 8th to the 9th. So, middle of the night, 1855 in East and South Devon, England. Go ahead and face lather here. Putting it on dry, it does need some water, but I got my bowl, so let's do that. Oh yeah, I'm using my Razor Rock Orange Halloween colors. By the way, I forgot to mention that, I think. And I'm using a salsa bowl that reminds me very much of a cauldron. So after a heavy snowfall, hoof-like prints appeared overnight in the snow, covering a total distance of 50 to 100 miles. Now I know that's a big gap, but that's because it's conflicting distances told by witnesses in the town of Devon at the time. Conflicting. So back in those days, you didn't have pictures really like that. You did have photography, but it was very expensive and not really widely used. So all you had was storytelling. So people would use a bit of hyperbole when describing something. So that's a lot. 50 is a lot of miles, but 100, that's a lot. So the prints measured about 4 inches long, 3 inches across, and between 8 to 16 inches apart, and mostly single file. And here's a photo of the prints. Now, that photo was in the newspaper at the time. I forget that I didn't write down the name of the newspaper, but they obviously did have a newspaper. That's a drawing. And at the bottom, you can see the scale. where they tried to do it to scale for measurement. So those are the footprints. One of the most unusual aspects of the incident was where the prints were found. So the prints were found on rooftops on both banks of the river Exe, and you know, weird places like that. Again, this is 1855. Fatih Piccolo, Vanderhagen blade, first use. Open comb, by the way, I forgot to mention that. I love the open comb on the Fatihs. So when they say both sides of the bank, I'm talking it would walk up to the water's edge, be like it leapt over the bank, and then just started up on the other bank. So not like side, you know, not parallel with the river, but like perpendicular to the river. So that was what people found interesting. It's literally like it hopped over the width of the river entirely, and just started up again on the other side. One farmer stated the prints stopped at a haystack and then started again on the other side without the haystack itself being disturbed. So again, literally like it just walked up to an obstruction, leapt over it, and continued on their way. Which again, doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, you didn't have the methods of, I mean, this is before airplanes. So people weren't really flying yet. About 60 years before, 50 years, about 50 years before airplanes. Wright brothers were 1903, 1905, 1900 something. I do remember that. I should know that off the top of my head. Early 1900s though. So the prints also led up to and exited drain pipes that were as small as 4 inches in diameter. So drain pipe about that big, that wide. So literally like it went up into the drain pipe and then came back out the other side, just kept on along its way. On its merry way. Experts at the time determined that while the hooves closely resembled donkey prints, the tracks were made by a bipedal creature. So here's a comparison photo. This was them trying to figure out, you know, different species of animals that could have made the tracks in that comparison photo. So it's pretty interesting because they were, you know, obviously trying really hard to give it a rational explanation for the whole thing. Villagers at the time were terrified and utterly believed that the devil himself had been out hunting for sinners. There's a photo, one of the many photos of Mr. Beelzebub himself. Not big on putting up demonic photos and all that, but I found that to be an interesting rendition of him. That's the only reason I put it up. But there are scores of theories about how they were made. So some believe it was animals, others believe it was a hoax, and some, and I'm assuming this came later. I highly doubt this was believed at the time. Some believed that it might be aliens. Got a bunch of long hair on my cheek here, and so I'm kind of, if I look distracted, I'm wondering if I lopped off a piece of my hair on my neck because my hair is getting longer, which I'm hoping is the case, or I got my beard, which I'm hoping I did not. I think it might be actually my beard. That's all right. Didn't want to talk while I was doing that. Once again, like I've always been doing, like the past 4 videos in a row now, I nicked myself, which is aggravating to me. Hate nicking myself. Alright. So aliens in 1855. That might be, I think I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case. They didn't believe that at 1855. That must have come later. People started studying it and trying to figure things out, and so they just went for aliens. Seems to be one of the default ones. Alright, so I'll pause right now, talk about this. So it's been sitting blooming for a while. You really get, again, in my opinion, the coffee faded out, so now I'm really getting some of the jasmine and definitely getting the lime out of this. It's really nice. I am going to say this would not be everyone's forte. It's a very unique scent. It's different. Different to me is good. I like it. There's a little bit of green to it. Not much, but a little bit. So for people who like a little bit of greener scents, I think it's really nice. I personally would also use this more in spring and summer months, I think. The jasmine in it gives it kind of a little bit of floral, not overly floral. But I could definitely see myself using this in warmer months. Unique is good. I don't like all unique. In fact, I dislike a lot of stuff that other people like. And I love a lot of stuff that a lot of people hate. Haven't said it in a while, but I will say it again. I love Arco. I do. It's not the best, but I do love the scent of it. It's just an unmistakable. I love things where you just smell it and you know immediately what it is. Like tabak, however you pronounce it. Which is, that one's definitely divided. Oop. Alrighty. So some experts disbelieve that the prints extended for 100 miles or even 50. As I aforementioned, it was stated that it would have been impossible to accurately follow so many tracks at that time period. So again, 1855, you didn't just hop in your car and have someone hang out the window looking. You had to walk that. Or best case scenario, but horse and buggy. But with snowfall on the ground, probably not. And if you did, you wouldn't be going far. You didn't have heat, you didn't have any of that. This is back in the day. So, yeah, definitely get the lime now. One author suggested it could even be a protest against the local church by people. So a hoax, but also a protest. The only thing about that, I don't believe that's the case at all, aside from the fact that it would have been really damn hard. And you would have needed a crowd of people, a huge plethora. Jefe, do you know what it means to have a plethora? Yes, guapo. I would say it is definitely a plethora. How can I believe you if you do not know what it is to have a plethora? Name that movie. That's one of my favorite movies on earth. You'd have to have a plethora of people. That's the way my mind works, sorry. But the thing about protests, usually if you're protesting something, you want people to know, one, that you're protesting, two, who you are, and three, why it is you're protesting. And who. So to go and protest something and not say a word about it doesn't make much sense to me. So in my personal opinion, I do not think that is the case. That's just me. So several animals were put forth as possible contenders. Cats, hares, mice, badgers, mules, and horses. A reverend, I love this one, a reverend even went so far as to suggest it might be a kangaroo that escaped a local private zoo in Exmouth, a little village called Exmouth. I don't know who in the hell in 1855 would have the money and the know-how and ability to get a kangaroo to England. Not impossible. I just try to picture it. That's a long voyage for a kangaroo and for the person having to bring the kangaroo. So, who knows? I went looking up to see if there was, in fact, a kangaroo owned by someone back then. I couldn't find anything. Doesn't mean there wasn't, but whatever. So there was allegedly an experimental balloon at the Devonport dockyard that was even blamed. It may have accidentally gotten loose and the mooring shackles left marks. Now, anyone who's a seafarer, hello Bradley, Joe, any of you guys, anyone that knows maritime stuff, a shackle is, I wish I had thought of this because I have like 60 of them down in the basement. A shackle is literally, it's a horseshoe shaped, it's basically a removable link of a chain. It's horseshoe shaped and then there's a pin that goes through it, just like this. And in fact, back in the day, the little pin unscrews and we used to have to wire them shut on our stanchions. One, you know, what you would call the railings on the sides of the ship to keep you from falling overboard. So I read that and I actually was like, okay, that actually, I think they would drag. If it was snowy, it'd be windy. So it'd be blowing all over the place and shackles are heavy. And if it was big enough to look like horse footprints like that big, those shackles would be heavy. So they'd be dragging all over the place. They wouldn't just be tapping up and down in footprint shapes. That was a good guess, I think, but I also think that is highly unlikely, in my opinion. Oh, by the way, this is a photo of one of the balloons they were talking about. This is, the time frame looks like it wouldn't be anywhere close to 1855, obviously. That looks like it might be 20s, 30s. I don't know. I'm trying to remember from when I found that picture last night when I was doing research on it. I'll have to, I don't know. Use your own judgment. Let me wash this off real quick. Be right back. I think I also forgot to mention, this is the first time I've ever used Declaration Grooming. This is the first set of theirs I've ever had. Not intentional. I don't outwardly avoid using it. I just, for whatever reason, I hadn't acquired one yet. It would have happened eventually, I'm sure. But I heard that their base is pretty good. It's about bison, I think. Buffalo. I don't know. Vegetable glycerin. Bison tallow. Yep, I was right. It's pretty damn good. It was hard to rinse off. It was so just nice. It was on there. It was very, I mean, not literally, I don't know. That makes it sound bad that it's hard to rinse off. It's not. It's not necessarily that it was hard to rinse off. It's that I kept doing this and it felt slick still. So I thought there's still stuff on there. I've mentioned that on here before. Great stuff. I love the base of this stuff. All right. So in every instance of an idea or suggestion put forth about what this possibly could have been, there were always anomalies that prevented any of these ideas from being 100% likely. So like I said with the shackle and the balloons, that actually sounds like it could be. However, things I said, maybe more that I didn't think of. I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like a know-it-all or an expert. It could be, okay, it could be donkey. Well, donkeys don't walk on two legs. At least not on purpose, and even if they could, not for very long. Not built that way, so it couldn't be that. What if it's a raccoon? Could be, except for the fact that raccoons don't have freaking hooves. And on and on and on and on. So, to this day, it is an ongoing mystery. There is little direct evidence of the phenomenon, as I mentioned. The only known documents were discovered during a 1950 newspaper publication about the incident itself. There was another reverend, not the one that thought about the kangaroo, but there was another reverend that had written it down and documented it. And while doing research for this 1950 article, they came across these papers that no one knew existed. I couldn't find anything about them. I'm sure if I had tried long enough, I could have, but it is what it is. Hazelnut. This was a little bit of a disappointment for me. I'm not a huge hazelnut guy anyways, or filberts as you would call them, Tobin, or anyone in the Pacific Northwest would call them. It was just underwhelming. I think not underwhelming, it smells delicious. It smells very nutty, but that's really it. I think they could have, it feels like there was stuff missing from it. They could have added something else to it. It just, right now, it smells like, not sun butter, it smells like something from my childhood. Some kind of peanut product, I don't know. I'll think of it later. Not peanut butter, it's not that, because peanut butter is sweet. This doesn't smell sweet. It's not bad, I'm not ragging on it, it's not my favorite. I think they could have added something to it. It just feels like something's missing from it. But it does go well with this stuff. I think because of that actually is why it goes so well with the rest of this stuff. So I think it finishes it off very nicely. Because what I try to do, and I know I'm probably last in line, you know, that should be talking about something that probably everyone else does, but I like to look at the scent notes and then pick something out of it and match it with something else I have. Like if something has jasmine, I'll use Phil's batch 214 because it has jasmine in it, his aftershave, something like that. I'm sure everyone does that, but in this case, I really liked the matchup with the hazelnut, so very good. So ongoing mystery. There are reports of similar incidents in other locations. I forgot to show that picture. I just thought it was cool. It's an ongoing mystery. Photo. I need to figure out something to do there. I write it down in the margin. Photo, and then I have like this much room to put this photo. I put a P with a circle around it, and then I put for photo, and then I write what I want there. And if I don't know what the photo is, I'm like, so yeah, mystery, snow, footprints. There are reports of similar incidents in other locations. This is where life circles around again, and I love it. Poland had one in the late 1800s. The most recent one, believe it or not, there's one recently, was in 2013 in Girvan, Scotland. A lot of people think it was a hoax. However, there has been nothing that disproves it either. So it's still happening. But here's where things are interesting. In 1909, in a region known as the Pine Barrens, there was something known as the Jersey Devil that supposedly left prints. There were numerous sightings. There was some before that in the 1800s, but 1909 there were numerous sightings, and there was a big to-do about it. Now the reason that's ironic is because the Jersey Devil is an upcoming release from none other than Hoffman's. I saw the name of it, I saw a house, I thought nothing of it, and then by sheer coincidence I was doing this and I came across the Jersey Devil. And it's a picture of a woman, her last name was Leeds, I believe it was Mary Leeds. And the legend goes she had a 13th child, and somehow the 13th child was demonic or something upon birth. And that is the Jersey Devil. Loose in the Pine Barrens. The Pine Barrens is the largest last forested Atlantic coast biome left in the United States on the East Coast. Well, yeah, Atlantic. And it's known as the Pine Barrens because it is sandy, acidic, nutrient poor soil. And so the colonists, upon landing, realized they could grow nothing in it unless they wanted like carnivorous plants like, you know, Venus flytrap or something, because those do very well in poor soils since they get their nutrients from insects and the like. So I will not branch too far into that. However, I do think I have an idea for another video about a week from now when Jersey Devil comes out. So let me know if you want me to do it. It's pretty interesting. Tree branch, like I said, you climb up the trunk, you got one topic you're focused on, and then you start going off in all different directions. Before you know it, you're like, crap, I got 5 new things to talk about. And those of you, I've already hinted at a few topics who I talk to, who know me well enough. Anyone can talk to me. A few of you know that some of the topics I plan on doing in the future. So during Halloween, I think I'm going to focus on ghost stuff and freaky stuff. So we'll see. I appreciate it. If you watched it all the way to the end, really appreciate it, guys. Y'all have been awesome. I've slowly been getting some followers. 190, as I've said, is about 185 more than I thought I would have. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, really. If you like it, leave a comment. If not, leave a comment. Hit me up on Instagram. And give this stuff a try. I would say it's a polarizing scent. Some people are going to like it. Some people are going to dislike it. It's just the nature of the beast. Not everyone likes everything, unfortunately. I personally like it. I definitely want to try it when it's warmer. This seems like something that I would definitely rock out, like I said, in the warmer months. So, all right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Be safe. Enjoy. And, yeah. Go outside. Enjoy the crisp, beautiful autumn. We got some beautiful changing colors and everything else going on out there. Got to throw up some pictures on my Facebook. So, yeah. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Talk to you later. Happy shaving.